Today's topic is going to be on the COVID uptick, right? So we know that COVID cases are increasing, and we knew this was going to happen, where more people get indoors. People are kind of getting sick of getting worried about getting sick, and they're gathering in groups again and forced indoors because of the weather, and because of that, uptick in COVID cases. So we're going to talk today about how you guys are preparing and staying safe for during your showings, and how to in selling real estate in this COVID environment. Yeah, COVID environment. So and then of course this is your mastermind, so we can talk about anything else you guys would like to talk about, any burning desires, any pressing needs. But I think the first thing we'll start talking about here is COVID and what you guys are doing, especially now. It's all over the news, the increasing cases. What are you guys seeing out there?
Good morning, everyone. I am kind of surprised that I'm seeing a little bit of a slowdown in the market, at least in some of the areas where my clients are looking, or where my clients are buying or selling. I had mentioned on last week's call that I had an open house, no open house. We forewent the open house in Weymouth, a Cape listed in the low 400s, entry level in Weymouth. And I was surprised at the lack of activity over 4 days, and it certainly wasn't overpriced. But we only had maybe 17 or 18 showings, and we got one offer, which sounds kind of, odd in this particular market. And then I had a buyer bid in Easton over the weekend, and there were only 2 offers on that property. So I was just surprised by this little bit of a slowdown. But, then you go to anywhere down Route 18 or even Route 58, getting closer to like Hanson, Pembroke, Halifax, Whitman, and those towns are still absolutely on fire. So.
And where was that listing, miss, that you were just talking about? Weymouth?
My own listing was in Weymouth.
Yeah.
Bit of a slowdown, and I had a condo, I buy a bid on a condo in Easton, and that was a little bit slower than I anticipated as well.
So do you think that's, if you think that Weymouth is slowing down, and, more of the rural areas, Hanson, Halifax, like I think you mentioned Carver too, are getting busier, do you think it's because you can buy more down there? So is that more like price fatigue? Or do you think that's, it's the population density isn't as great in some of those smaller areas, so people are looking more down there because of a, COVID factor?
I think it's all those things. I think it's, price fatigue in first and foremost, because, when you go to Weymouth and you see what 400 doesn't get you, I think buyers are more apt to want to go a little further south, or can go a little further south, where their money will go a little bit farther, a little bit of a bigger property, or maybe more land, not living right on top of your neighbors. So that would be number one. And second, I think buyers are just open to wherever property is available that's in their price range, because there is so little available. It used to be, last year and years prior, and actually, all my years working with buyers, these are the locations that we're interested in. We're not going to stray from these locations, and this is where we're going to look. This is where we want to buy. And we would just wait for something to come up. And chances are it happens pretty quickly. Whereas these days, regardless of the number of properties that come up, most clients are in a bidding war environment. And whether or not their offer is accepted is often not just a test of our skill as their representative, but of the seller agent on the other side, who recognizes a quality offer when they have one cross their desk, So,
that's always a challenge in any market, I think.
It is, it's tough.
Yeah. So I think we'll talk, let's talk continue a little bit on that. I think on that topic, I think one thing to keep in mind as far as the price ranges go, and I've mentioned it a little bit before, but I just sent a video out to my pre-approved clients, my pre-approved clients where their pre-approvals have expired or are expiring. I mentioned in it that one of the reasons you might not have found a house yet, or one of the reasons that you allowed your pre-approval to expire, is just because house prices are so high. So same exercise I did in this video I've talked to you guys about before, where if you compared a $400,000 loan amount this time last year, where rates were at 3.8%, you can actually borrow $450 based on today's rates at 2 3/4, and the payment ends up being like $3 a month less, you know? So yeah, you are paying more for the house to the seller now, but you're paying way less for the mortgage. And that hopefully, knowing that hopefully can help some people maybe either get more aggressive with their offers or even, stay north of exit 12 if they wanted to do that, you know?
Yeah, yep. I'm curious, Bernice, I see Bernice, you're on the call this morning, if you're available to chime in. And Margaret, I know that you have a listing in Savin Hill at the moment. Bernice and I have been talking about a slowdown in Dorchester, the rising inventory and prices actually coming down. So,
well, they've only been on a 20-year run. It's about
Yeah.
time it slows down over there.
Good morning, Bernice.
Good morning. How you guys doing?
Good. What are you seeing in Dorchester?
The same, especially with the condos. There's a ton of condos on the market now. And multifamilies, where before they would come on the market, on a Thursday and they're gone by like Sunday and they're sitting now. And I'm seeing a lot more price drops. And so I think we're either heading in where we're leveling out and, like you said, this price fatigue. But I definitely, on the South Shore, for me with my buyers, feel like it's still pretty hot. I'm making offers with clients that I've been working with all summer and still in multiple. Well, we're in Brockton, Taunton, Bridgewater area, and still experiencing bidding wars, outside of the city. I think people really are getting out of the city because they can get more bang for their buck and work from home and just enjoy being in their homes. So that's kind of what I'm seeing. But I have enjoyed the race in Dorchester for the last 20 years, Bob. Thank you.
Yeah, there you go. Good.
It's been fun.
So Bernice, are you seeing you service, like we just talked about Dorchester, you also come into the suburbs too. Are you seeing, generally speaking, much of a difference in the approach that buyers or sellers go through in dealing with COVID? I mean, are people more worried in the city just because more people, more population density about that? Are they more weary of it? Or are they just used to it and they don't care and that's why they're looking to buy or sell in the city?
I think in terms of COVID, I don't think it's changed much in the way buyers and sellers are approaching it. I still approach it the same with my clients, in terms of safety. And I think that's part of it is how we approach it with our clients. And I tell clients mask, gloves, hand sanitizer, we're all being as safe as possible. But I have noticed outside of the city, there is a bit more, folks are a little bit more relaxed in terms of letting people come in. They're okay with it. We're here in the city. They're like, nope, I just want space it out 10 minutes at a time. And out in the burbs, they're just like, come in, I want to sell my house. Just come in, walk through, do what you got to do. So I think it's all in the approach.
Good.
Good morning.
What else you guys seeing out there as far as the topic for today is really the uptick in COVID and what are we doing, if anything, as far as protecting ourselves, our buyers and our sellers, against this, uptick. Still working in a healthy way in this environment.
Morning, Bob.
All right.
We kind of got away from doing virtual listing appointments, but we're bringing them back in now, and just makes sense with all the heightened awareness. Just did one yesterday, so I think it's a blessing that we actually have the ability to do it virtually. So we just got to embrace it and make it part of our regular day.
Do you find, Rick, when you do your and really this is a question for everybody, do you find your closing percentage has gone down at all by when you do a virtual either showing or listing appointment? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think it's gone down for us, but it is different. I think because you're not face to face to, close them, so to speak, it probably requires a different path to But ultimately, I think just in our experience, they're able to make their own decision and they close themselves basically. It might take a little bit longer, but you're not at the table and you don't leave with a signature, but you probably know one is forthcoming because they're looking at you across that screen as the expert. And I think it heightens our validity. So I don't think our closing ratio has gone down, but it's different. It's spread out a little more. I hope
Right.
that answers your question.
Yeah, it definitely does. Rest of the people on the call, what do you guys think? Are you guys, has anybody on this call really embraced virtual appointments? And is it something that you think that even once COVID comes and goes, that you'll do regularly after, when we get back to a normal world?
I find for me that my closing ratio hasn't changed, but the transaction feels different. Those of you who know me know that I'm like ridiculously and cripplingly detail oriented sometimes. So for me, I feel like for me, it's more of a hands off. I see you guys smiling at me.
It's okay, Missy. We still love you.
I know. Thanks, Rick Murray. I still love you too. But the hands-offness for me gives me a little bit more anxiety because I feel like I don't have the excruciating details about the property. So if a buyer agent asks me, I feel a little bit less prepared with the answers, so I find for me, I have to do a bit more legwork or a little bit more running around, and I have maybe just a little bit reduced level of confidence in terms of what I know about the property, which actually has been good for me. It's been good for me. It's allowed me to just back off a bit and bring down my stress a bit. So
if I could just add to what Melissa's saying, because I do agree with you, Melissa, that being hands off, it is different.
yeah, it feels different.
And I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 of our last listings were signed up without a price. It said TBD, to be determined. And that gave us an opportunity to go back in, see the house in a safe environment and secure an accurate price rather than just letting them decide on the price because they love the house. So again, it comes back to the validity thing. Like, we're the experts. And because I haven't physically seen your house, we're going to leave the price out of the equation for the moment. But when we visit it, we'll nail something down that makes you happy, makes us happy. Does that sound good, Mr. Seller? And it's worked really well for us.
I think with that comes, the trust factor. So
Yeah.
on a scenario like that, unless you just crush the script and crush the close, that'll work all day with someone who's a returning client of yours, someone who trusts you, trusts Lisa, or was referred to you by someone that they trust that trusts you, right? Is that pretty much how that would go, Rick? And I think you have to do that in this market because it's changing so much.
It is. It's changing. I just heard a podcast this morning on a Tom Ferry podcast about scripts that we should be saying to our clients. And the script a year ago was, how's the market? Well, it depends. Well, the script now is, you know what? It's changing daily and almost hourly. And I think everyone on this call might agree with that, the market right now at 9 o'clock might be different at 4 o'clock today. It's changing so rapidly and crazily. If we can communicate that to our clients, and I think I just look at it this way. There's so many opportunities to, communicate our expertise to them by just sharing knowledge. And that can be done on a screen. It doesn't have to be face-to-face. We do it on the phone a lot. I actually love Zoom. I think it's been fantastic for our business.
Same with ours. Just even being able to get people, two people that are buying a house together, to get them either in the same room in front of their computer, or if one's working from a conference room in their office and the other one's working from home and they both are on screen. It's just a great way to get face-to-face without being belly to belly, even if people are in 3 different locations. And it's just an absolute game changer for our business too.
Yeah. They used to have that saying, I forget who come up with it, probably Floyd Wickman or something. CITO, right? Come into the office. CITO. Just get them to come in the office, because if they can come into the office, they're displaying that they're serious enough to take the time to come, drive and meet with you and dedicate an hour to talk with you. They've got to be serious, right? Well, come into the computer screen, come into Zoom, CITZ. And if they're dedicated to spend an hour with you or a half hour with you on a Zoom call, they're probably pretty serious. So
Right.
it's a good replacement given the time that we're in.
Anybody else have anything to add in that regard?
I just wanted to ask Rick, what are you seeing in the Quincy market, Rick?
Well, right now it's overcast and I'm looking out the window. But we're trying to get more Quincy inventory, because I think last time I checked, KW was number 2 in Quincy and we want to be number 1. But, you know, it's like every other town. It's super competitive. Inventory is low, strong demand, and prices are high. And it's just, hold on, man. Just hold on. You got to just, we look at the market every day in many towns. And so you guys should all be doing the same thing. Just every single day, dedicate at least 30 minutes to studying what's going on in the towns that you do business in. So that when you're out there in the field, you can have an intelligent conversation about the average sale price. How many listings are currently for sale? What's the average days on market? You know, knowing the town's absorption rate. Last time I did, I can't remember if it was Quincy or another town, but it was like 3 weeks. So basically, if no homes came on the market anymore, the inventory is going to be gone in 3 weeks. Like, that's ridiculous.
Right.
So it's up to us to go out and get listing inventory and keep this market going, right, Missy?
Yeah, definitely.
We got Power Hour going on behind us right now. There's a bunch of people in here making calls. If you haven't stopped by the Quincy office yet, I think Donna Frano could attest. There's a lot of people in here making calls, Donna, right? You're on mute.
She's like our sign language person at the government.
I love that job. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of activity in the Quincy office. There's a lot of people. I mean, on a Monday morning, I'm there at by 8:30, and there's lots of people there. So, just if you want to do scripts with Lisa, I mean, what a blessing to have her. So go to Quincy or Zoom in or whatever. But there's lots going on.
Love it. Good.
Yeah, and just a shameless plug, if anybody is looking for some accountability coaching, me and Lisa provide that for a small group of people here in Quincy, and would welcome anybody to join us every Friday at 2:00. We have a 30-minute accountability call. If you want to be involved, just email me, email randl@kw.com, and we will make sure you're in that Zoom link. But it's been great. Just, basically we track how many appointments your goal is for the week, and hopefully you go get them and meet your goal. And we also give you scripts.
Rick, if I can jump in, you made a comment about we got to keep the market going, and we absolutely do. And I don't think, certainly not everyone on the call today, I look at, the names on the call, not everyone was in the market in 2008, 2009, at least not as professional realtors. I mean, Rick and I were, Bob, I know you were, Linda, I suspect maybe you were, Donna, I know you were, but, what did we do? And does that apply now? And I mean, we did everything we could to stay positive, to be focused, to be routine oriented, to be database oriented, to work by referral, to farm every neighborhood. You really at that point had to take, narrow your funnel to those things that really worked best for you to keep your own business transactionally moving forward. Because when there is far less inventory, as we know, far less inventory to sell, then you have to shift your focus from being a buyer agent to being a seller agent so that you can gain all the leverage. And do all those same habits still apply? Absolutely. But I think how we apply them is a little bit different, or how we render the information might be a little bit different. We didn't have the technology then that we have now. Certainly in the last 12 months has really catapulted us forward very quickly with the technology piece, and we're really lucky to have it. So, Rick, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, Shift came out in 2008, and ironically, it's another bestseller this with the COVID, and people are following those principles. So
Right.
if you haven't read Shift, read it or download it on Audible. But those principles, they applied back then and they apply now, and they're just tried and true and proven. And, you know, you just can't go wrong. Think about it. Everyone's going back to their database. You know, we really haven't reread the book, but we just discovered that, like, you know, wow, we are actually following some of these principles that from the book that we read 10 years ago or whatever it was, 12 years ago. So it took us a while, but, you know, these are difficult times and they require us to pivot and just adapt to the changing times. So I'm sure everyone on this call is doing something like that. As long as you understand and you know, the being aware of it is part of the challenge. And then, you know, you just go back to the basics. That's what that book's all about. Just get in the office, pick up the phone, make outbound calls, service your database, control your schedule, you know, cut your expenses. You just got to do all those things. And you just can't go wrong if you do them. It's a big statement to say that, but if you break it down and just do each thing individually a little bit every day, over time, you'll see it grow. So that's it's been happening for us, and we're super excited about 2021. I mean, think about that. We're excited about 2021. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and we're just like really pumped because we've got good things in place on our team right now. And we're seeing some results, and we've got leverage, and we got Alicia Lowe. I mean, we got it made. So I hope you all get excited like I am, because there's a lot of good things out there. We got to go get it.
And, you know, in 2008, I think what you saw, I mean, I got into the business in 03, 04, 05, 06. You saw, just like now, tons of new people getting into the business. Because it was easy at that point, both for lenders and for realtors. And then of course the shift happens, or the crash happened. And really some realtors businesses might've come down a little bit, but the people who are always selling houses and the people that were always out there and active were the ones that were still selling houses, and the ones that, made it through to the other side. And in a lot of cases, their businesses grew, they picked up market share. So I think just being active, like you said, Rick, going to the office, I think is really important. I've met very few people in my life that can impactfully work from home regularly. Now it's a little bit different because of COVID, but it's like if you want to get in better shape or lose weight, right? You don't always have to have the best killer workout at the gym. Just if you go to the gym, chances are you're going to pick up a weight by accident, right? If you go to the office, chances are you're going to pick up the phone by accident, right? Or you might learn something new. If you're going out and previewing some new listings, and you're meeting some other agents from outside of your office or outside of your sphere, you're meeting new people, right? You're getting a pulse on the market. You're seeing what they do. You're picking up some new ideas, and all of those things, along with consistency, which is the most important thing, I think. Consistency matters more than anything. All of those things combined with consistency, you will do business by accident, and you will make it through any kind of a shift, especially in our area, because we are such a transient area, being so close to Boston, so close to Providence, and 495 now. The business is there to be had, and everybody can make it through. But nobody, most people won't be. It's just 80-20 rule.
Look at some of the known producers in our company. They're killing it, and it's not by accident. It's by design, and it's because they get into consistent action. And I love that word, consistent. We're always striving for consistency, Bob. But you can't go, going to the gym, you get a good workout, but you will get in shape if you just get into action, going for a walk, just do some form of activity and getting into action. And we're stressing that here to all our accountability people, is just do something. Don't do nothing. Your goal, it can't be zero. Don't have an appointment goal of 0 for the week, because guess what you'll accomplish? Zero. So it's got to be at least one. And what we're seeing is they're making it 3 or 5, and they may not hit 5, but they'll hit 2 or 3.
Yeah.
If their goal was 0, they would never hit 2 or 3. So, you know, you got to just really be very intentional, very deliberate. And Lisa's big motto this month or the past couple of months is consistent self-discipline, and just be, it says it all. I don't even have to repeat it. I mean, you know what that means, guys. So if you can apply consistent self-discipline to your real estate world, you will get into consistent production. And who doesn't want that?
Right on. Good, good. Anybody else have anything to add in that regard? We're coming off of COVID a little bit, but that's okay. This is our conversation. This is your conversation.
Well, it kind of goes hand in hand. I mean, if we just get COVIDized, we're all going to be polarized and just stay at home and do nothing.
Yeah.
I think the best way to deal with COVID is to be aware of it, practice safe protocols, like Bernice was saying earlier. That's awesome. I love when I go to open houses and they have all that gear set up and protectionary measures in place. That's awesome. We could all do good jobs on that. We should all strive to do better jobs on that. But you can't let it paralyze you. It's just, it goes hand in hand. All right, we're in a pandemic. All right, we got to get into action. Don't stay home.
Yeah, right. Still got to pay the bills, right?
Yeah, I saw a post yesterday. I'm staying safe by staying home. And that's a realtor's death curse right there. Because, you know, it's not coming to us. We have to go out and get it. And we can either do it physically or virtually, but we have to go out and get it.
I find it interesting too, you know, when I'm talking to sellers, whether they're ready to list now or, you know, thinking about a plan a little further out in the future for whatever reason, they are asking me about safety and, you know, what's the protocol or, you know, what's the practice right now to show my property, quote, show my property, because I always talk with them about if we can't make it accessible, then if nobody's going to show up, and if nobody shows up, you're not going to get an offer, let alone offers. So I kind of leave that to them as to how they want to show it. But I can tell you that my preference is to just slow down. You know, people just need to, agents need to slow down, buyers need to slow down, sellers need to slow down, and just make the showing process safe for everyone. You know, Rick, you've talked about how you love to go to an open house and there are all the safety precautions there. You know, they probably have masks, gloves, sanitizer, you know, one party at a time, maybe 2 or 3 realtors there controlling the traffic in and out of the property. So that's fabulous. And the traffic definitely does need to be controlled. I think it's up to us to talk to our sellers about, you know, what's safe, and to remind them after your property has been shown, you know, if you're worried about it, you need to wipe down, you know, doorknobs and drawer pulls and things like that. But I find that if everybody just kind of slows down a little bit, it removes a lot of the anxiety about it. You know, for the last few listings I've had, the listings have been on busier streets, like Summer Street in Weymouth, really busy street. One car to park in a driveway, everyone else had to fend for themselves. So I didn't think doing an open house there was really a great idea just for traffic reasons. So we did every hour and half hour. So showings available on the hour or the half hour from, you know, 9 to 6 for 4 days. And the traffic was very controlled. No one was tripping over one another. Buyer agents weren't, you know, vying for appointment times. And I think that also, the feedback I received from agents was, thanks for making the process a little bit more, you know, reasonable in terms of what the pace was going to look like. I mean, if you have a 2-bedroom condo that's 900 square feet, you can make a buying decision in 15 minutes. But if you have a 2,500 square foot colonial on an acre of land with 2-car garage, how are you going to make a buying decision on that if you're only giving them 15 minutes to walk through the house? They haven't even seen the whole house in 15 minutes. So,
you know, Missy, you make
Yeah.
some awesome points. And as you were talking, I was thinking of the bold law. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And I think a lot of people might be looking at COVID, and especially the uptick in COVID, as fear. as something that needs to slow us down. I like slowing down with our communication a little bit, but we look at COVID as an opportunity to really just make us stand out as the trusted advisors, because we've got their attention on Zoom. People need help. They need guidance. They don't know that realtors are out there practicing safe protocols. We need to slowly explain that. But the act of doing that makes us more valid. It makes it the highway to validity is wide open now. We just got to go take the highway and just be the professional that you can be, that you are, and just capture as much business as possible. I just look at this as an opportunity and not something I'm terribly fearful of. I'm respectful of it, and we all should be on a daily basis, but don't make it force you to sit at home and watch Ellen at 3 p.m. because COVID's out there. It's not that kind of fair. Although I'd love to do that one day.
Only do that when you're finished with your workday and you've made your 20 calls and, up to 4 a.m. and you need a cup of coffee. Don't regularly.
I'm not a big Ellen fan, but I would Dr. Phil. That's what I'd do.
Have any of you guys taken your COVID protocol and thrown it out there on social media? And the reason I say that is because how many people are out there that will buy a home someday, that could be interested in buying a home, but really just assume it's not safe to look at houses, so they're not even picking up the phone and calling. They're just thinking about whether or not they're going to re-up their lease, right? How many of us actually have our 5-point plan or 5-step plan or 3-step plan, whatever it is, to show people that we've got you covered? And here's how, by hitting these 5 points. Does anybody have anything like that they've shared out on social media or with their clients? We have a plan.
I don't want to hijack this mastermind, but me and Lisa did it back in March or April. We did something to that effect. And you've probably heard me on other calls talk about our new video blog coming out through Viral Marketing in November. And our second video is going to be exactly that, Bob. So first is more introductory, but our second video is going to be specifically on safe COVID protocols for showings, for open houses, and just in general. So I'm glad you brought that up. It reminded me of it. I'm excited about that.
Yeah,
We should all be doing that.
Right. And it's easy. And we don't have to recreate the wheel. If you have a friend in the office, you have one. If you ask Rick really nice and drive him with a coffee, chances are pretty good he'll share his plan with you too, right?
Yeah.
To recreate the wheel.
Everywhere I go, there's a mask.
Yeah, that's it. If you don't have one, I would say get it out there, and that's going to generate leads for you anyway. I'm sure that it is.
Yeah.
It's a great idea. Okay.
And that can be incorporated right into your listing process or into your buyer process. So the packets that you give out when you go and meet with clients, that can all be incorporated right into that in print format too. So it's definitely a great idea, Bob. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think, we
guys-
talked. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, I apologize. I had to jump on a little bit late. So I'm sorry if you already discussed this, but what I was curious is, are you guys seeing any slowdown in the market out on the field from the increase in numbers? Are you guys seeing anybody, any people starting to say, I don't really want to get out there right now and look, and things starting to slow back down?
Yeah,
Again, I'm sorry if you already talked about that.
We did. Yeah, we did hit on that earlier. And what we talked a little bit about was just Bernice had mentioned that things are slowing down a bit in the city from what she's seeing, Dorchester, and Missy mentioned this too. She has a listing in Weymouth that maybe was a little slower than she expected, but as you get down deeper into the South Shore, into Hanson and Halifax, it's still, gangbusters down there. And we didn't really know if that was because of a COVID exhaustion, especially being in the city around all those people, or if it's more of just a price exhaustion, where the further north you are, the closer to the city you are, it's just the more you're getting beat up on price, and you can buy more for less down on the, deeper into the South Shore.
And Bob,
And
we are seeing a little bit of a lull, but just from our team personally, some of the dialogue we've had with our seller clients, we have 4 listings that are signed up that are not ready to be shown because they're doing whatever, paint and prep. So because we have 4, we were telling our sellers, there's a lot of people doing the exact same thing. And their fear is what can I buy? So I think there's going to be another surge in production activity between, November 1 and December 15th, as there is typically every year. So we're poised to, take part in that. But I do see, I think the whole office could speak the same thing, that we're seeing a little bit of a lull.
So one thing I want to mention too is usually the November of a presidential cycle, that the month of November is quiet. Somebody asked me to look into this. I did a little historical research, and all of that demand gets pushed to December. So the year ends up pretty much exactly as where the year would have ended, but November, and I'm sure this November, I think, is just, as we go into it, is going to be a little bit, because it's just a weird, contentious time. But I've looked into my crystal ball, Rick Murray, and I think that December 1st is going to be rocking.
Yeah, I'm ready. Bring it on.
Rocking.
That's it. Now, Sam just had, she just brought up a good point just about, we've been talking a lot about your clients and sellers and buyers and protecting them. But what are you thinking about, Sammy?
I wrote it on a note, you guys, because apparently I'm too nervous to talk, but which is very usual for me. But yeah, so we're talking about protecting our clients and protecting people coming to open houses. And I know I've thought a lot about this too, is how to protect our own business should we contract COVID. So how are you, has anyone started thinking along those lines and coming up with, a plan, some sort of backup plan should you be down for the count for a week or 2 weeks, so that, if you have active buyers or you have an active listing, that, the whole world isn't completely on hold?
It's a great question.
Yeah, that is
That's
a
a
great
really
question.
good
Sam.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the RNL home team would just be wiped out then, because we
Yeah.
don't just work together, we live together. But no, we have some leverage. And to answer your question, I want to hear what other people want to say too. But the phone works both ways. And, there was somebody, I believe somebody in our office has been contracted, and, they were just staying at home making calls. So you can still do business. You just can't be around people. So for a couple of weeks, maybe reshift your focus and get into heavy communication with your database. That is a safe activity.
I was actually down for the count for a couple of weeks when I had my kidney infection, and what I did was ask for help. And I had buyers that were looking at houses, and I called everybody, and I did not get one no from anybody that I asked help for, which was huge. So that's, sometimes we don't ask for help. It's hard for us sometimes, or for me it was, but once you ask, people want to help and they're okay with that. So that's what was a huge part.
And do you
And
have,
I think that's a huge part of the KW culture too, in comparison to some
Absolutely.
other that I know. The fact that there are people willing to step up and help you.
Mhm.
do you guys have that, your COVID contingency plan?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
In a listing presentation or buyer's presentation? Here's what we're going to do if I go down. I'm your realtor. I'm going to help you through the process, but here's my plan if I'm out of commission for 2 or 3 weeks or more.
I would be so impressed if I was on the other side of a listing presentation and an agent said that to me. I'd be like
They've
blown
thought
away.
of everything. Yeah.
Yeah, they truly have thought of everything. And I mean, you could create the plan with the thought of not only as a marketing piece or a way to impress your clients, but also genuinely just assuming, going out on a limb and assuming you're going to get it, then what? And having, already lined up those people who are going to be there for you, who are going to be able to ask for help, instead of it being, a last minute scramble when you're sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. We're definitely going to do that. I think if you come at it with sincerity and say, all right, let's just really see what this would look like if one of us got it. And then you created some backup plan, that is in and of itself is going to come across as being awesome and going to look great to the seller. So don't look at it the opposite way. Look at it the real way. Like, damn, what if one of us comes down with this thing? What are we going to do? Really powerful stuff. I don't know why I never thought of that.
Yeah.
That's why you're here, buddy.
G6.
That's why I wrote it on a note.
That's it.
Yeah.
Proof of the thought. I haven't thought about it in terms of COVID specifically, but I mean, if I think about it, that's been part of my listing presentation for a long time, that I actually have the conversation with my buyers and my sellers, and I say to them, so, listen, I make myself as available to you as humanly possible. I don't answer my phone at midnight. I don't return text messages at 3 a.m. I do have a life outside of real estate, but just rest assured that if for any reason I'm on vacation or, God forbid, I'm sick or something unexpected comes up, I always have partners who I trust and I count on who are always willing to step in for me. So I literally use the term, I never leave you hanging out there swinging in the wind like an unattended sign. So I've always had that conversation.
Oh, write that down.
And now I'll just flip it over onto COVID. So, it's all about expectations from my perspective. So I like to under promise and over deliver. And I think my promise bar is still pretty high. And they're typically not unhappy because we've talked about all these things before we've either gone under contract with a purchase or we've started to show their property. So you got to set the expectations.
Yeah, that was awesome, Missy.
And if you live with other people, I think as far as COVID goes, and maybe this is just the way things are in Hanover or whatever, but we have a family in my neighborhood. Actually, my family's really good friends with their family. They have a couple of kids, and the family has one of them. One of the people in the house is a family of 4 got COVID a couple of weeks ago, and tested positive. So now that and the other 3 people in the home tested negative, and so what that means is that they're all quarantining essentially for 2 weeks. Right, a week goes by, and of course the guy that got COVID is on the mend. One of the other kids tested positive. Now what's happening is, and the other 2 now tested negative again. So what ends up happening is the guy who was sick initially, he has his 2 week sentence basically, right? He's going to be out and about in 2 weeks. Now the other person in the household who tested positive now has to quarantine for another 2 weeks along with the other 2 that tested negative. And if this week, one or both of the people who have been testing negative test positive, they have to extend out for another 2 weeks. So it's very possible that you could not get COVID, but if a member in your household did, you could be quarantined now for 4 weeks or more, depending on how that domino falls. So yeah, you can make your phone calls, you can get on your Zoom appointments, you can do what Chris Cuomo did on CNN and just document the heck out of everything. And is that his name, Chris Cuomo? I think so. Yeah. But you can't go out showing properties, right? You can't go and change the sign on somebody's front lawn, So what's that contingency plan look like, Rick and Lisa, if, one of the people in your household gets sick, but then the domino continues to fall, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Lisa just walked in. I'll brief her what you said, Samantha, about the what if plan that we'll have to put into place. But it's a great topic. And Bob, thanks for sharing it. I mean, my goodness, I don't think anyone even thought about that. But
well, I'll tell you, I had to bring the dog. My dog is having surgery, and you have to go through, it's crazy just to bring your dog in. You park outside, they ask me millions of questions. You can't be there. They take your dog. It's just so weird. So
I think too, and even the reason I brought it up is because I've thought about it a lot for work, because the whole team's here, and what if the whole team goes down? What's gonna happen? So I've thought about it a lot here too, and with you guys as well, a lot of what we do is so time sensitive, and especially as Bernice was saying before, bidding wars are still something that's happening all the time.
Hey, Daddy.
Oh, there she is. So same, imagine you have like that client who's been like, who's super, super hungry, that buyer who's like, then, you know, they're obviously not going to be mad at you for getting COVID, but they'd probably be more impressed with you if you had a plan ready to go. So if you were down for the count, that you have someone else who can be there for them.
Good stuff.
I remember back in the spring, I had a sale of a condo in Stoughton, and it was very unique. It was certainly a first, and it tried my patience and my professionalism in every way. I had put the property on the market in January. It was slow to go under agreement. As soon as we did go under agreement, within 10 days, my seller passed away. She died unexpectedly. So we had that issue. And then on top of that, all of a sudden, oh, hey, 3 weeks later, COVID, lockdown, we needed permission from the probate court to even sell her property. And then, so the court was closed. So that was, like a 5 or 6 week delay. And then as we approached the closing day, the buyer was working with a brick and mortar small bank in Randolph. And literally he had said to me, Melissa, we have every intention of closing this on time on this new date that we've agreed to, but literally the closing comes down to someone being at the bank and hitting the button to wire the funds. So, there have to be backup plans, but the flip side of that is people need to be reasonable and they need to be patient, and we've never seen anything like this. So if the system crumbles and completely falls apart and there aren't fail safes in place, people have to be patient and allow things to be repaired. And if things can't be repaired, then maybe the parties, walk away and you have to go back to the drawing board. But people have to be reasonable. We've not done this before. People have to be reasonable.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they will be.
Doesn't mean they will be.
Doesn't mean they will be. And you just sort of have to put your raincoat on and let some of that just fall right off your back. As professionals, we have to do everything within our power. But some things we have no control over. I can't go to the bank and hit the button and initiate the wire. I can't do that. So it's not my fault if we don't close on time. But if I've done everything within my scope of responsibility and my power to deliver what I can deliver, then there you go. That's the best you can do.
Control what you can control, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, and we can control the conversations we're having with our clients.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, if one of us gets it and we're in isolation, you can still have conversations.
Right.
And you definitely should have a backup plan, G6. That's awesome. We're going to do that. But you can still have conversations. So
Are you
Like-
guys, are you seeing in your conversations, do you guys see many people that want to sell or want to buy, but say that they're going to wait for this COVID thing to pass? Are you guys seeing that much?
More about the election, I'd say.
It's more about the election.
yeah, COVID's part of it, but I think it's primarily the election and the season. I think COVID might be more of an underlying fear.
Yeah.
But the election is definitely a big one.
Man, imagine, we're having these conversations 7 months ago, right? Middle to the end of March. Imagine if one of us was on the call, the October 27th, Missy Garlisi, 2020 was able to jump onto the March call and say, guys, you're going to see over the next several months, the craziest housing market you've ever seen. We would say that you're crazy. We would say like tens of millions of people are getting laid off. COVID is coming. It's not going away. We're not ready. We have to shut down. How can we sell houses if we're forced to stay in our house? How can people buy houses if we're forced to stay in our house? And oh yeah, by the way, they probably just got laid off. Like you're crazy.
The rates are going to be ridiculously low.
Yeah, the rates are low, but nobody can buy because they're all sick, going to be sick. So could you imagine, like, this is just the last several months has been such a gift for us that nobody saw coming. And, it's up to us to take advantage of it, work responsibly, reassure our clients that we're going to take good care of them. And if something were to happen to them or to us, we have contingency plans in place. Man, it's just been a crazy time.
Yeah.
And I think times that even economists are going to look back on and say, and teach about how the hell did this happen? You couldn't give a house in, Braintree or Weymouth away. When I met Missy, I was trying to sell my house in Weymouth in 2010. I couldn't give the flipping thing away, right? And now 900 square foot ranches in Halifax are going for 50 grand over asking with double digit offers. It's just.
I heard something this morning that said that we're off by probably 70% in inventory. So that means next spring could be absolutely insane, right? If all the people who did put it off because of COVID or the election, that 70% of inventory has just been kind of halted this year. We are going to have a tailwind next year. It could be amazing.
I think it's going to also be because, you know, the people between, if they couldn't afford their mortgage before this all happened, then the chances that they're going to be able to afford it once it's done and the, you know, forbearance is gone away and all sorts of things, like maybe they lost their job. I think there's going to be a lot of homes that come up for those types of reasons as well.
Yeah. See
Don't you think though, Bob, that this, and Samantha, of course, that this is much different than 2008, 2009?
It
That
is.
the-
Completely different. Yeah.
It is. I mean, getting a mortgage today is just as difficult as it could possibly be. In comparison to, I once sold in 2000, right around the bad times, I sold a house to a buyer who was also being foreclosed on at the same time. And they approved the loan.
Wow.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So I just think this is a completely different situation.
Yeah, I think the risk of job loss too is like, I know I had a girlfriend of mine who was 2 days away from her closing and was laid off and
Yeah.
lost the house.
Oh,
You know, so I think that it's something to keep in mind too, like as we come through fall and into winter as well, because we don't know what's going to happen. So I think that that's going to be one of the barriers that makes it tough for people to get a mortgage as well as we continue.
so if, I love all the input in this call, but what I was thinking about is everything that we're talking about is basically an outcome, right, of an activity. And what we're teaching our mentorees here in the Quincy Markets Business Center is to be attached to the process of making calls, because it's going to produce an outcome, whatever it is. I'm waiting till the fall. I'm ready to sell now. I'm not selling at all. I hate realtors. I'm scared of the election. I'm scared of COVID. Those are all outcomes. But if we all just focus on the process of showing up to work every day, picking up the phone, making 20 outbound calls, cultivating your database, and just setting your appointments in the afternoon, you are going to have a wildly successful 2021. I'm telling you right now, just start practicing
Get
that right
addicted to
now.
that.
Get addicted to the process, not the outcome.
Have you guys ever seen the, I think it's Inky Wells on his presentation on the process?
No, I'd love to see that.
It's awesome. It's like 2 minutes. Honestly, guys, it's just so good.
Who is it?
I think it's Inky Wells. He was a big college football player and was supposed to be a big draft, high draft pick, but I won't give too much away, but he is just so good. And I'll see if I can find it. Is it Johnson maybe? Either way, I'll get it over to you and I'll send the link over. Okay.
It's easy to get attached to the outcome. They said they're waiting until the spring. Their daughter's going to graduate, or they hate realtors, or whatever they say. Whatever. Just make the next call, because there will be somebody that says, be stronger than your excuses. Is that what it says? There will be someone that picks up, and it just happened. Yesterday, my 20th call. I just called this woman that was in my database. She goes, wow, it's really funny that you call, because I am thinking of selling. And I gave her a CMA like 5 years ago. So that's going to be a listing probably next month for sure. The other 19, they hate me. I don't care. I don't care.
You gotta have haters.
They don't hate Rick Murray. They don't hate Rick Murray. They hate the message that I brought to the phone that day.
That's it. Hey, so it's like 2 minutes.
It's just not ready.
Like 2 minutes long. I just put the link up in the chat. So
Awesome.
just take a quick second and copy that and email it to yourself or save it to your phone, whatever. It's worth the 2 minutes. You'll share it with people. It's really, really good.
Got it.
Awesome. So we're coming up on time. Want to respect everybody's time. Does anybody have any last minute pearls of wisdom or questions they want to share with the group?
Read shift.
That's read shift. Get on it. Read shift. Get ready for it.
Stay
All right. Well, if
positive.
you guys don't have anything else to add, thank you for being a part of another great call. Hopefully you guys found this valuable. If you have anything that you'd like to talk about, let Alicia know, and we will certainly make it a part of these masterminds. So thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Bobby G6. Have a great, powerful week.
Hi.
Thank you guys.